Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 467 to 468 for the 5th to the 6th of June. And for those that are not subscribed, please subscribe. So the past 2 days I was on leave. I bring my family on a staycation, and then of course the Ukrainian offensive is ongoing, and a shitload of things happened, and it took me 8 hours to freaking map whatever you're looking at on the screen now. 8 freaking hours, 8 straight hours. So if you watch more than one video of DPA, especially you watch 3 and you're still not subscribed, you're an evil person. Especially if after watching this and still not subscribed, you're an evil person. So anyway, let's start off with the Southern Front. So we go anti-clockwise as usual, and at the Southern Front, something's happened. The Ukrainians actually did an amphibious operation. Maybe I zoom in this. Amphibious operation on the Krylik Island, which is actually here. They did a crossing and over here, and then it was discovered by the Russians, and then they got shelled. Information's coming from Ryba, and then this happens on the 4th of June. The information only came out on the 6th, on the 5th. And then there was also some reinforcement. The two boats were delivered. They are called the Metal Shark and the Galaxy. Was delivered to Kherson, along with 2 groups of Special Operation Forces, codenamed South, probably to prepare for more operations. So the Ukrainians sent more boats over here, while they did a crossing that was eliminated. And then there was also further reinforcement being reported over at Shiraka Balka, along all the way to Kizomis. These are Georgian mercenaries being deployed over at this area here. So we have some reinforcement of forces and of course boats. And this seems like the Ukrainians are still going to do things and nothing particularly special is going to happen. And then, of course, something particularly special happened. Over at Novokakhovka, the Kakhovka Dam exploded. Allegedly, there's also anecdotal information saying that there's no explosion. So there are all sorts of information, all sorts of claims, explosions, no explosions, Russian did it, Ukrainian did it. No one did it. It broke on its own because of its infrastructural damage. All sort of stories, believe whatever you want. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that the Ukrainians blown up the facility. The Deep State UA said the Russians destroyed the hydroelectric station. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry says that the Russians blew up the internal structures of the Kakhovka Dam, and then 80 settlements were in the flooding zone. And then Ramelin 21 says that he said that no one actually deliberately blew up the dam. He said that this actually collapsed due to the damages from previous shelling. So whatever it is, flooding had happened. Because I actually intended to map in the entire flood zone, so we actually can see the new river on the map. However, because running short on time, as I mentioned, 8 freaking hours of mapping, I have no time to actually map out prettily on how the river now looks like. So I'll probably do it in the next update, and so that we can actually have a better appreciation of what it actually looks like, because the river now looks like this. I mean, before the dam broke, it looks like this, but after the dam broke, this river doesn't look like this anymore. So and this actually affects the entire upper stream, all along to Nikopol region, to Zaporizhzhia city, and it's going to pose certain level of problems when we try to analyze what's happening along this river, because the river is going to look drastically different. But at least for the flooded region, I think we can actually map it in. But for the further upstream, it's going to be a bit more complicated. Anyway, reminder, if you don't subscribe, you are an evil person. If you don't press the like button, you are also a very evil person. So don't be evil, press the like button. And moving on, in case you are wondering why this map looks so special, we have this thing. You can actually see this map on the Defense Politics Asia website. defensepoliticsasia.com/Ukraine. You can actually take a look at the latest version of this map. The map is not on this web page. It's not going to be updated every day. It's going to be updated only from time to time, and the reason because the mapping is actually behind the paywall. You can only get it from joining the DPA's Patreon or Coffee or Boosty or locals, maybe not locals. So Boosty, Coffee, and Patreon. So you can joining us. Go to the officer status, and then you can actually get access to the map. So for those that are asking, what map is this? No, this is the DPA's mapping. So typically it is this is what I use. So now I can use this, and this is the mapping on this website is also to help you get a sense of what you are trying to buy. If you are really going to subscribe, not just to support me, but just to buy the map, to get access to the map. At least you get a sense of what the map looks like. So anyway, further up near the Enerhodar region, there is a Sukhoi 25 shot down over Enerhodar, the city that hosts the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And this is the latest information coming from the Vostok group of forces, if I'm not wrong, and they reported this. This is just came in today, and there is the Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Babine or Babini. The baby milk here got above it shot down. Got a Sukhoi 25 shot down over by air defense, and interestingly, Remelin 21, the pro-Russian source reported that RIA Novosti reported. So they reported that someone reported that the Ukrainians tried to do an amphibious landing with the coverage of this Sukhoi 25 that got shot down, and which means that there might be a possibility that the Ukrainians actually tried to do a landing over here, and then they have the aircraft. This is a terrible looking aircraft. So this aircraft tried to cover, and then this got shot down, and I'm not sure what happened to the landing. So they only say that the aircraft. So the landing attempt was stopped somehow. So this Remelin 21 and allegedly RIA Novosti is the only one that mentioned about this landing. No one else is mentioning this. So this is particularly interesting, and it is interesting because the Sukhoi 25 shot down over Babine is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. It's not by Remelin 21. So take all this with a pinch of salt. It's just very interesting how this developing as the Ukrainian super duper uber offensive is now in full flow. And this super duper uber offensive is, in my opinion, much bigger than what we ever seen before from the Ukrainian side. Not even the Kherson offensive or the Kharkiv Balaklia offensive is at this scale. This Ukrainian offensive is way bigger than what we have ever seen. So we move into the Zaporizhzhia front, where the main bulk of the offensive is actually happening. And before we go to the VELYKA NOVOSILKA sector, there is fighting reported at Lobkove. This is also happening today. In the latest information, within this past 12 hours, we have fighting reported at Lobkove. And this reported by Remelin 21. I actually see corroborations from another pro-Russian source. So this is actually happening with the Ukrainians attacking, probably from Svatove over towards the Lobkove. The Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling the day before. This is reported by the press center of the Vostok group of forces. They reported shelling at Stepove, Shevaki, and Novoandreevka and Novodonetske. All these are reported by the Vostok group of forces. So they are actively trying to discourage the Ukrainians from going an offensive by incurring damage on their forces that is actually on the front line, which is, you can see, this is the entire front line. And so if you suffer enough force damage, you might not want to go on the offensive. So but however, we still do have this fighting reported at Lobkove. And this moving into the eastern part of the Zaporizhzhia line, which is where you see a stupid amount of icons over here. So we need to go through what's happening. So there is fighting reported near Avdiivka on the 6th. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And on the this is on the 6th. On the 5th, however, there is already fighting at Levatne as well as at Prayone. Prayone is actually on the 6th. So I will go through the sources first, and then I'll go through a bit of what actually is happening. And on the 5th, the Ukrainians attacked Novodonetske, and they actually managed to capture the town. There is actually geolocation of Ukrainian forces that came out today that shows Ukrainian troops literally within Novodonetske. This is actually geolocated by me. This is actually accurate. And then, however, by the end of the day, the Russian forces actually recaptured Novodonetske. The Russian Defense Ministry actually on the 6th reported that they shot down a Mi-8 helicopter over Novodonetske. Is not sure what the Mi-8 is doing. It's usually used for transportation, but it can also use for rocket strikes. And by the 6th, there is confirmation that Novodonetske is recaptured by the Russian forces, according to Ryber. And we actually did not have fighting reported at Novodonetske on the 6th, which is kind of interesting. Probably this is the Russian forces able to re-establish control over this after the Ukrainians attack and then the counter-attack. Yeah, so this happening over here. Over at Rivnopil, there is also fighting over here on the 5th and on the 6th. So this is actually sorry, this did I put in this color wrong? Yeah, I put this wrong color. This should be blue. Yeah, so I can only change it here. So yeah, so this two is the wrong color. Repulse and attack by 6 tank. This should be blue. And then conducted or offensive, which okay, so the second one is actually on Novosilka. Okay, the second one is actually correct. So which means actually this one is blue. So the Ukrainians attacking on the 5th, and then the Russians attacking on the 6th. Then over at the Nekushny region, the Russian forces have recaptured Nekushny, and it was after they recaptured on the 4th, the Ukrainians actually launched an attack on Nekushny again, and then the Russian forces actually counterattacked again at Nekushny on the 5th, and then they managed to retake and re-establish control over Nekushny. And then we have fighting reported on the western part of Nekushny on the 5th and on the 6th. On the 6th, they also mentioned fighting reported near Nekushny. Fighting actually was reported to go towards Storozheve, south of Nekushny. And this what happened on the 5th. However, the attack also did not work out. And according to the Russian Defense Ministry, there is actually reported use of Bradley infantry fighting vehicles over in the Nekushny battlefront. So this is actually interesting. Yeah, but there is actually no visual and video evidence that the Bradley has been destroyed or operating over at near the Nekushny region. There is concentration of Ukrainian forces at VELYKA NOVOSILKA, and there is also a concentration of Ukrainian forces along the Shetanka River along this forest line. And moving into the Novodonetske region, I mentioned before that the Ukrainians, while attacking in this direction, is likely with a significant force over at Shetarsky and Zolota Neva, or Maximivka and Novodonetske. They are likely to actually go down this way and actually connect with this force and create a pincer and then cause a Russian encirclement, or at least force them to withdraw out of this front or this salient along the VELYKA NOVOSILKA sector. And this actually happened. The Ukrainian forces launched a massive attack on Novodonetske. Previously, the Ukrainians have already moved all the way here with small attacks, and then now they actually launched a massive attack on Novodonetske. And in fact, on the 5th of don't let me see. On the 5th of June, they actually launched this major attack, and they were pretty successful. They were fighting with heavy artillery, and they managed to capture half of the village by midday, and then by the end of the day, according to Rybar, they managed to push the Russian forces out of Novodonetske, with the Ukrainian forces attacking. So by the 6th, we actually have a confirmation that Novodonetske has been captured. This is reported by Surya Maps. However, on the 6th, the Russian forces actually launched a counter-offensive into Novodonetske and actually recaptured Novodonetske. And this is actually happened by the end of the day. So on the 6th, the Ukrainians actually attacked from the north and also from the west of Novodonetske, and however the attack has been defended by the Russian forces. The Ukrainians did not succeed. So by 11 p.m. at night, the Ukrainians still have not managed to capture Novodonetske. So the Russian forces at the end managed to defend against the two-pronged attack, and until the night time, this remains to be the case. I will still rate Novodonetske as a kind of a gray zone kind of thing. And there is also, on the 5th, there was this attack towards Oktyabryansk. So maybe it's not from here. Maybe it's actually from here. Yeah, I think this makes more sense. The icon should be on another place. So let's change this immediately before I forget, because way too many things is happening. So yeah. So this is what's happening. Interestingly, there is also another fight. The Ukrainians are actually trying to target Urozhaine, and there is this attack towards this direction. This actually first reported on the 5th of June, reported by Rybar. Is by the 37th Marine Brigade, and then there was on the 6th. This information was then reported by Surya Maps, the neutral source. So this happened, but they did not work out. The attack was actually repelled according to various reports and mapping. There doesn't seem to be like a Ukrainian salient towards Urozhaine. This did not happen. So just to know a quick sum up of what actually happened. The Ukrainians attacked Novodonetske, they attacked Nekrushny, they attacked Donetsk, they attacked towards Oktyabryansk, they attacked towards Urozhaine, and then they attacked Levadne and Okhilsky. The Russian forces then counterattack. So there's this attack here also towards Rivnopil. Russians counterattack as well. They counterattack over at Novodonetske only, and they also attack over here. They try to hold the line, and this was something that it looks like quite terrible, the drawing. And then what happened was that by yesterday, the Russian forces managed to control Novodonetske as they counterattack. The Ukrainians continue to hold this line, but the attack towards here was stopped by the Russians. They did not work out. The Russians also counterattacked and recaptured, recontrolled Nekrushny. The Ukrainians attack towards Starozhevny was stopped. The Russians counterattack at Rivnopil towards Novosilka, and the Russians also managed to recapture Novodorivka with the counterattack. The fighting towards Priorne is kind of unclear. The Ukrainians may or may not have captured this area here, if the Russians continue to hold the line around Stepove region. And yeah, so the front line currently looks something like this. It's pretty messy, I don't know, because it's my fault, because I didn't report yesterday, and the entire situation just become a huge mess. I think I would have to continue to report this on a daily basis. If not, this is actually very complicated, because the front line changed really quickly as the fighting here is actually extremely fierce. Then there was this actually very interesting information. The Russians on the 6th reported that on the 5th, the Ukrainians lost 1,600 troops across this entire front. this entire front line, the Ukrainians, they alleged that the Ukrainians lost 1,600 troops, 28 tanks, including 8 Leopard tanks and 3 AMX-10. Of course, and also 136 other military vehicles, including 76 of them is actually Western. And then so they praised some of their units. They say that they continue to praise their own units. So then they mentioned that in total, after 3 days of fighting, the Ukrainians allegedly lost 3,700 troops and 52 tanks, 207 armored fighting vehicles, 134 motor vehicles, 5 aircraft, 2 helicopters, 48 artillery, 53 UAVs, and then so all is good. Though whatever they want to say, maybe this attack was really massive. The Ukrainians lost a lot of troops. Do make sense. Then they say that the Russians lost only 71 servicemen and then 210 wounded. 15 tanks, 9 IHV and 2 motor vehicles and 9 artillery were destroyed. I say bullshit, man. It's pure bullshit. It's impossible. It's impossible that we are talking about a difference of 10 times difference. Everyone's Russian soldier die means 10 Ukrainian soldiers die. It just makes no freaking sense. It's impossible. Even if it's an offensive, even if the Russians are in a better positions, 1 to 10 sounds ridiculous. So I would say times 10 the numbers. 710 servicemen, 2,100 were wounded. I would say it makes more sense, in my opinion. So in terms of vehicular losses, I'm not sure. 15 tanks is possible. 9 IFV sounds a bit low. I would even if you put 90, I would say makes sense, because we are talking about 52 tanks and 200 armor fighting vehicle loss on the Ukrainian side. So and then only 2 motor vehicles, maybe 20 makes more sense. Would it be? So anyway, these numbers are ridiculous. So I would say just take a pinch of salt. But what we can get from these numbers is that the fighting is seriously huge, seriously fierce, and I think this is what we should understand from this report. Don't take the numbers for what it is. I don't think the Russians are able to count the casualties of the Ukrainian side clearly. So and then about the Leopard tanks, though, the Russians claim that they took out Leopard tanks and AMX-10, and then they actually allegedly show a video which I actually did not see. I didn't click into the videos in their reports. So however, according to Remelin 21, they say that this is not Leopard tanks. These are farming equipments, which I saw on Twitter, which I would say that's horrible. The Russian Defense Ministry, why are you showing farming vehicles? You mean the people who do all your reports don't even know what a tank look like? So yeah, so Remelin 21, the pro-Russian source, say that not a single Leopard tank has been used, and then so they say that this to look for weak spot in defense, the tanks will 100% not be used. Although Remelin 21 call this reconnaissance by combat, in that sense, I disagree. I think this is a proper offensive. And then we have information then coming from Ryba. Ryba actually showed some footages, some photos, and I can confirm that they are AMX-10s. So AMX-10 is confirmed. We have AMX-10s here. And then there is Ryba then actually identified that the farming vehicles are actually the John Deere 4830. These are farming equipments that the Russian Defense Ministry showed. So yeah, Ryba has been also become very critical of the Russian Defense Ministry for using stupid images. And on the 5th of June, there was actually a gathering of Ukrainian forces over here. I just now did not mention this. And from what I can gather, the Ukrainians, this force here, let me see, the Ukrainian forces that is fighting in this region, if I'm not wrong, is the 37th 37th brigade, and they have 14 AMX 10. I think this is the only unit that with the AMX 10, so this is definitely the 37th brigade, and they actually supposed to have 15 Abrams tank. So this orange unnamed tank is actually Abrams. This is the only tank they can be, but there is no Abrams tank delivered yet to the Ukrainian side. So the Ukrainian side in this offensive using the 37th brigade probably deploy other tanks in replacement of these missing tanks, and so there is no Leopard tanks supposedly in this group, unless they redeploy Leopard 2s into this brigade. So I have my doubts about the Leopard tanks until we actually see footages. Similarly, in the same brigade there is no Bradleys. So let's pull that out again. Oh my god. So with the AMX 10, the unit is supposed to be with the Mastiff, which is the Mastiff is the MRAP from the UK. So there's no Bradley here as well. So if we were going to talk about Bradleys, then we are probably looking at a different unit. Let me see. Bradley, Senator, Max Pro. We did see some Max Pro, right? So maybe the 32 Brigade was involved as well. Max Pro with T-72s. So this could be it. But the T-72s are supposed to be with Abrams tanks as well. So yeah, it's kind of confusing. Where is the Abrams? Where is the Bradleys? Oh my god, I'm blind. I cannot see it. So Mother, Striker, Dam P-31s, M113s, M109s, M113. Yeah, I actually cannot see where's the Bradley. I'm lost. Okay, forget it. I remember it somewhere here, but yeah. Anyway, maybe it's the yellow ones which I cannot see. Yeah. So anyway, it's hard to identify, but yeah, I don't think the Western tanks are in the front line just yet. AMX 10 is not technically a tank. Yeah, so no, this, as you can see, this is going to be a very draggy SITREP. So if you're going to give up now, please press the like button and then go. And then moving on into the Donetsk Front. As of course, this is area we traditionally call this part of the Donetsk, but yeah, this basically part of one big front line at the moment. Moving into the VELYKA region, there is also a Ukrainian attack on the 6th. The Ukrainians actually launched an attack north of Mikhailsk, and it was supported by Sukhoi 25 that was shot down over Mikhailsk. Reinforcement was reported on the VELYKA on the 4th, so this could be the reason why they have this offensive action in the north of Mikhailsk. Probably did not work out. And over at Novodonesske, we also have fighting reported on the 5th, and then south of Marinka on the 5th as well. So there is this attack happening while the Russians are pushing in Marinka. And over at Marinka itself, we have a lot of information of the fighting at Marinka. We have the Russian Defense Ministry, Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and Remlin 21, all mentioning heavy fighting over at Marinka on the 5th. On the 6th, it's only mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Shelling is reported at Marinka according to Deep State UA. So the Russians are pushing, probably the Chechen forces, and then shelling is reported on the western part of Marinka. And moving on into the northern part of Donetsk city, which is the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Ukrainians actually launched a counterattack. So there is on the 5th, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned that the Russians are attacking the Velsk. And however, on the 6th, according to information from Remlin 21, the pro-Russian source, they say that the Ukrainians are the one attacking. So there is also fighting reported near Nevelsk along this ravine region. According to Deep State UA, but they did not exactly mention who is actually attacking. They only say fighting is over there, and then the Ukrainians say that it's the Russians that are attacking. And then the Deep State UA reported that the Ukrainian artillery shelled the south of Pervomaiske, which is actually here. And then the Russians actually reportedly shelled Pervomaiske, which is here. So this is the situation over here. Over at Vodian is also very interesting. The Deep State UA reported fighting. They did not mention who is actually fighting, who is attacking at Vodian. And then on the 6th, we have information coming from Remelin 21 that's saying that it is the Ukrainians that is attacking the Vodian. And this comes at the same time as they attack Opine. So on both cases, Deep State UA has been very vague about who is actually attacking. And so actually the Ukrainians are attacking Opitne and Vodian. And particularly for Opitne, the Ukrainian forces actually have success. According to Remelin 21, they said that the Ukrainian forces had entered the settlement, managed to advance to the settlement, and they are fighting inside the settlement. So Ukrainians are now inside Opitne, and this actually means that the Russians from this line actually have been pushed all the way out from to losing quite a big chunk of land. And Ukrainians are attacking also against Vodian. So this is actually also quite a proper offensive, and I've reported that this actually was an offensive at the beginning of the Ukrainian offensive. So despite the Russian advances, however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report that the Russians are the one attacking towards Zhevene, which is sort of unusual. It's kind of weird because if the Ukrainians are attacking here, the Russians can't be possibly attacking Zhevene. It doesn't make tactical sense. The Ukrainians also continue to report fighting towards Avdiivka by the Russians. Then the Russians themselves say that they are actively attacking Avdiivka on the 5th of June. However, information coming on the 6th by the Russian Defense Ministry said that the Ukrainians are launching an attack in the area of Yakovlevka, which is actually here. So, which means the Ukrainians are actually attacking here, and which is also probably why we did not see the Russian Defense Ministry talking about offensive over Avdiivka, or maybe the report is not out yet. Let me see. 6th, yeah, they did not mention on the 6th. So this means that the Ukrainians actually turned the table. The Avdiivka offensive is abandoned by the Russians because the Ukrainian attack has been getting a bit too fierce in this region, and the Russians are unable to do their offensive for Avdiivka. Interestingly, on the 6th, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually accurately called that the Russians did not conduct offensive operations on the 6th. So this means that the Ukrainians are on the offensive, given all this amount of fighting over at the Avdiivka Front. The Russian Defense Ministry continued to do reporting of the shelling at Berdaichi as well as at Karami on the 5th of June. So situation is getting very complicated. It's very heavy even for the Russian Defense Ministry to seemingly report properly, I would say. And over at the New York front, we do not have anything, and we move into the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported in the area of Mayosk. So this is Mayosk, and the Ukrainians are actually attacking in this area here, near Mayosk, in the pumping station area, and in the north of Mayosk. So information coming from Remelin 21 about the fighting at the pumping station. Surya Maps reported fighting at Mayosk, probably referring to the pumping station. In the north, Ryba and Remelin 21 reported fighting north of Mayosk, along the canal, with the Ukrainians trying to cross over the canal region. And this is actually very interesting because the idea of the Ukrainians will attack Mayosk and attack in this area here is actually called out by Prigozhin, the Wagner's boss, the commander of the Wagner forces. And he says that the Ukrainians will attack in this direction. And yeah, it seems pretty accurate, but whether they will be able to do it, and do something about it is another story altogether. Further up north, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to say that the Russians are attacking in the Klishchiivka region in the direction of Ivaniske. And then they continue to report that on the 6th as well, saying that there is fighting near Klishchiivka, that the Russians are attacking. This is entirely contradicting to everything other people are saying. The Russian Defense Ministry say that the Ukrainians are attacking towards Klishchiivka. The 5th Mountain Assault Brigade and the 77th Air Mobile Brigade was attacking near Bakhmut-Siversk. And for the Russian Defense Ministry to admit that the Ukrainians are attacking means that this attack must be very significant. So, because if not, they would just say that it's a reconnaissance. So these are proper offensive by the Ukrainians, and Ryba actually reported that the Ukrainians are attacking Klishchiivka, and they have gotten into rifle battle. So the target, according to the Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they say that the Ukrainians' objective is Opitne and Zaiseve. So the Ukrainians' aim is actually to attack towards its direction, probably definitely to capture Klishchiivka as well, and this will do the southern flank that I talked about, to pincer the entire of Bakhmut. So this direction, and of course in the north. This is what I'm trying to say. And so Deep State UA also mentioned fighting in the north of Klishchiivka. They said that the Ukrainians are attacking, so in the north of Klishchiivka, and this directly contradicts the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about the Russians are the one attacking. So I don't think so. Definitely this is the Ukrainians doing their offensive at Bakhmut. And more significant was that there is now fighting southwest of Bakhmut. They are not exactly into Bakhmut city just yet. They are fighting on the outskirts. But Ryba reported that the Ukrainians are now pushing, probably near the MiG-17 monument, and the label that is, they said that is actually the Somolet region. So Somolet district, they said that the Ukrainians are pushing from here. So the Ukrainians are definitely on the offensive in Bakhmut. So for those that are pro-Russian and always dissing about the Ukrainian offensive, you laugh at them. Yeah, the joke's on you, man. Nice quote. So moving on, further up north, this is another one of these major news in the Ukraine war, is the Ukrainians managing to attack all the way to Bakhmut, and they are fighting within Bakhmut, and this actually break the entire Russian narrative, because they say that they were holding this line because this line is easier to hold, and then the Ukrainians still broke through and attacked towards Bakhmut. So this came as a shock for Ryba, because Ryba actually don't believe this is possible. They say that the Ukrainians actually got pushback due to whatever they see on the footages, with the Ukrainians attacking it within the south of the Bakhmut reservoir, which is actually here. This is the Bakhmut reservoir, and they say that the Ukrainians are actually attacking here, and then they got stopped by the Russian forces holding the line, reportedly retreated. But this actually is not accurate. Later, the information came out from Russian Defense Ministry. They say they're fighting near Bakhmut, and then Surya Maps also reported this, that the Ukrainian forces reached Bakhmut, and Deep State UA also mentioned about this, and then Remlin 21 also mentioned about this. Everyone from the Russian to the Ukrainian to the neutral all says that the Ukrainians actually have broke through this line of defense over here, and they have actually fought all the way to this area here. Then on the 6th, Ryba actually acknowledged that this actually happens with the Ukrainians make use of the forest line over here to break through into Bakhmut, and Deep State UA confirms that, also says that they have reached this area here, with the Deep State UA's mapping all the way like this, and Russian mapping looks like this. So yeah, so the Ukrainian offensive is actually pretty successful at this moment, and if they are able to capture Bakhmut, yeah, all hell's gonna break loose, because if they capture this and they continue to attack towards Paraskovievka, the entire Russian force here is going to do a massive withdrawal. because that's what the Russian military always do. So, and to make matter worse, the Ukrainians also putting pressure on from Orikovo-Vasilivka, probably towards the Bobo-Vasilivka, and fighting is actually reported here by Deep State UA on the 5th and on the 6th. So with this attacking here happening, with this breakthrough, and if they capture this towards Paraskovyevka, you can totally imagine the Russians running away from this area here. So, and more surprisingly, there was also an attack on Zelenianske reported by Ryba, and so the Ukrainians are attacking this area here. Amazing, don't you think? The Ukrainians are attacking this area here, this area here, this area here. God, if they push through, the Russians are going to run 100%. So, and then what makes even more worse, it's like mind-blowingly, when you think that all this is quite scary and quite amazing on the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainians are launching an attack towards Soledar. They're attacking from the Siversk direction down towards Soledar. Fighting is reported at Rozdolivka. According to Ryba and Remlin 21, the information is that the Ukrainians actually launched an attack. They tried to break through Rozdolivka, and they allegedly 10 of Ukrainian tanks and infantry fighting vehicle has been destroyed. And the main battle is actually along the river here, along the Suka Plotva river. So which means the Ukrainians actually attacking Rozdolivka and along the river here, which is a massive assault, and their target is Soledar. So if you look at this attack, you may find it very familiar, because I mentioned about the Ukrainians going to launch this attack here because they're gonna go all the way and encircle Bakhmut. And this attack is what I have mentioned before, and now the Ukrainians are going to do all of them, because I also mentioned there is this possible pincer. So they are doing double pincer. They are doing the bigger pincer coming from the Siversk and coming from Mayos, and then the smaller pincer as well, coming from the north of Bakhmut and the south of Bakhmut. The Ukrainians are doing both pincer. So the pressure is tremendous on the Russian side here, and I'm not sure how the Russians are going to handle this. If any of these lines break, like the Bakhivka one, and if it continues to break further with the Ukrainians capturing Bakhivka, I tell you, we're going to see some massive Russian withdrawal, and you're gonna see Prigozhin shouting, "Shogoy, what the hell are you doing?" Yeah, it's gonna be freaking hell of an entertaining. Yeah, so for those Russian supporters, emotional damage ahead, no warning sign, no. Yeah, and then for the pro-Ukrainian viewers, hey, do I look pro-Ukrainian now? Nice, cool. Then moving on into the Siversk Front. At this one hell of a long report. It's 43 minutes. And yeah, so welcome to the Siversk Front. The Siversk Front, we have Ukrainian Sukhoi 27 shot down over Yakitne. Further away, we have another Ukrainian Sukhoi 27 shot down over Avdiivka. Sukhoi 27, if I'm not wrong, is the one that was firing all these shadow storm missiles, storm shadow missiles. I forgot which way it is. So these cruise missiles from the UK. So it's actually launched by these Sukhoi 27s. So they are getting shot down. Does make sense. This shot down by air defense. Yeah, they're all shot down by air defense. So, and then over the Siversk Front, we have the Russians reportedly attacking Bilohorivka in the Luhansk region, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on both days. So it's quite kind of pathetic because the Russians have been attacking Bilohorivka for so long and they still have not captured it. And the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Serebyanka. So that's all from the Siversk Front. Moving into the Kreminna Front. And at the Kreminna Front, we have Ukrainians reportedly attacking, they recon or probing at Kuzmine, towards Kuzmine. the the Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually reported the Russians are attacking near Kreminna, which means the Russians are attacking. However, the Russians simply reported shelling at Kuzmine and as well as Serebranski Forestry. So this, I don't think the Russians are attacking. The Russians are probably just holding the line and just shelling the Ukrainian forces as they see them, as usual. And then shelling is being reported at Toske on the 6th and Zaporizhzhia on the 5th. And then on the Nevsky as well on the 5th. So as you can see, the Kreminna Front has pretty much went a bit stagnant due to all the actions over at all the other front lines, with the Russian forces basically shelling these few locations and probable attack at Zaporizhzhia. And that's all from the Kreminna Front. And moving into the Svatove Front, we have shelling being reported at Avdiivka on the 6th, and there is fighting reported around the Novodonetske region. There is fighting reported at Novodonetske on the 5th, and however, the Russian Defense Ministry say that the Ukrainians are the one attacking. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry say Deep State UA say it's the Russians that are attacking. So don't know who is attacking. And over at Berestove on the 5th, the Russian Defense Ministry say that the Ukrainians actually probed or attacked Berestove region. However, information from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 6th say the Russians are the one attacking. So yeah, so it's an yeah, they are just fighting there. Shelling is being reported at Kreminna on the 5th, and then into the Kupyansk Front we have shelling reported at Kotelivka, at Kaislivka, all reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. There's probing reported near Olyanske, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 5th, and then we have probing attacks reported at Vyshana, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And then over at the Sinkivka region, yeah, there's some icons that is messed up. There is fighting reported at Sinkivka, with the Ukrainians actually attacked, but this happened on the 6th on the 11 p.m. But it did not work out. The Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling on the 5th at Sinkivka, and then there was a attack by the Russians attacking near Mysativka region. However, on the 6th, they mentioned that the fighting is positional, so which means that the Russian attack has slowed down, and so it become more of a positional fight. And then there is this case of ammonia pipeline getting destroyed. There's an explosion of an ammonia pipeline, allegedly by the pro-Russian side, saying that it's the Ukrainians that blew it up. So this ammonia is actually being transported from Russia to EU through this pipeline. And it's amazing to think that there is still trade between Russia and EU. And not just that, the trade freaking go through Ukraine. It's like someone write a story and then they just cannot keep track of all the things that's happening, and they just having a lot of loopholes all over the place. And then further up north, we have shelling being reported at Novodonetske on the 6th. And that's all from the Kupyansk Front. And you think that it's over? It's not yet over. Welcome to the Kharkiv Front. At the Kharkiv Front, we have the Ukrainians attacking Novaya Tavozanka again. And this time round, they managed to attack into the Russian territory and managed to be fighting within the village itself. Fighting is being reported by Ryba and Novolim 21 on the 5th, as they say that there's clash in the area of Novaya Tavozanka. And despite the information that the Ukrainian forces was destroyed, Deep State UA continued to report fighting continues in Novaya Tavozanka on the 6th. So yeah, so the fighting is still ongoing within this area here. I don't think they have captured. It's not possible to recapture the entire town so quickly. So the fighting is probably still in the area. If there's any footages, you have to see that just over the border there's already buildings, there's already housing over here. So the fighting is probably around this area here. I don't think they have captured the entire town, despite whatever information that might be out there. It don't make sense. So anyway, fighting is in Belgorod region now, and and also in the very weird statement coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 6th, they say that the Russians launched 3 S-300 at Kharkiv. S-300 is a surface-to-air missile, and they say that the Russians launched surface-to-air missiles at the city of Kharkiv. And I'm going to interpret this for you. The Ukrainians fired 3 surface-to-air missiles at Russian missiles or airplanes or cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and these 3 S-300 surface-to-air missiles of the Ukrainian side hit themselves. So yeah, and that's all for the stupid long summary of the day of 467 to 468 for the 5th to the 6th of June, and it's 50 minutes. It has been so long since we have such a long SITREP. Probably from only in the first 3 months of the war we have such long SITREP, or first 3 months, yeah, around first 3 months to first 6 months. So do press the like button, subscribe. Like I said, if you did not subscribe, especially after you watch a few videos of DPA, you are an evil person because you are depriving me from growing the channel. Yeah, so you have to press the subscribe button, press the like button. If you watch to this point, please give yourself a DPA medal of tenacity and courage and perseverance, because it's one hell of a long report. I know it's freaking dry. It's so painful to say to report this because it's so long, and it's very complicated, because especially in the VELYKA NOVOSILKA region, the information is so much, it's very hard to explain. So look out for the quick updates. I will be explaining what happened in the arrow maps. I think it will be easier to digest, and I can also add in more analysis into what is exactly happening. So thank you for watching. This is 8 hours of mapping, and you just gone through the 8 hours of mapping in 15 minutes, and I'll see you in the next update.